Hi guys, I'm Mrs. Karaz. This is Chapter 2, Europe Looks Outward, and today we're looking at Section 3, Europeans Compete in North America. So there are a few things that it's important for us to remember as we move into this section. So first, let's remember the Renaissance. In the 1500s, Europe's in the middle of the Renaissance, which is a great cultural change that includes a new emphasis on science and the arts. And the Renaissance is going to help push Europeans towards America. Europeans have the means to explore. They have the technology and resources that they need. Another thing we need to remember are the religious conflicts that were taking place in Europe at this time. So in Chapter 1, we learned about Martin Luther, who was a religious leader that wanted to see changes in the Catholic Church. He started the Protestant sect of Christianity during the Reformation. And over time, Protestantism spread throughout Europe. Catholicism had long been the number one religion in England, but Protestant picks up speed. So ultimately, a big life-changing thing at this time was that King Henry VIII decided to become a Protestant. So the why, well, it's an interesting story. King Henry VIII married Catherine of Aragon, who was the daughter of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, the people that funded Columbus's journey to the Americas. He had children with Catherine of Aragon, but she didn't give him a male heir. He had no son to take the throne after he died. So Henry wanted to divorce her, obviously. But at this time, the Catholic Church didn't allow divorces at all. But it does instead offer annulments, which is a cancellation of marriage. The record of it, or I shouldn't say the record of it is gone, but basically it's like the marriage never even happened. So Henry wants to find another lady to make himself a male heir with, so he asked the Pope to annul his marriage. And the Pope said no to the King of England. So King Henry decided to become a Protestant, strictly because, well, Protestants allowed divorce. That's one way to get what you want, right? We've also got some economic conflicts in Europe at this time. So religious tensions led to increased rivalries between European nations. We also have the fact that Europeans were interested in setting up colonies for several different reasons, right? One, if you had your own colonies, you were less dependent on the resources that you had to trade for from other nations. Europeans also thought that gold and resources from the colonies would make them more rich and powerful. And what we're going to look at closely, and what will take up a lot of our time over the next few days, is the topic of mercantilism. Mercantilism is the system that operates on the idea that colonies exist to make the home country rich and powerful. If the mother country, for lack of a better word, is sending people and soldiers over to colonize a certain area, the people living in that colony need to help benefit that mother country. And we'll look at the systems that were in place for that over the next few days, like I said. Moving on to the Spanish Armada. So, a quick look at the rulers of England. We had King Henry VIII, who was a Protestant, followed by King Edward, who was a Protestant, followed by Queen Mary I, who was Catholic, followed by Queen Elizabeth I, who was Protestant again. Spain, which was Roman Catholic at the time, had a big rivalry with England, because they were two of the most powerful nations in the world at this time. And King Philip II of Spain decides that he wants to see England become a Catholic nation again. He doesn't like the idea of a powerful Protestant nation. It seemed like a threat to him. So King Philip's angry on that level. To make him even angrier, the English start raiding Spanish ships, many of which carried gold. And on top of it, England was helping Holland gain independence from Spain. Spain had control of Holland. England was helping Holland break away. So for all these three reasons, Spain is not a big fan of England at this time. So, in 1538, King Philip sends an armada, or a fleet of warships, to England in hopes to force Queen Elizabeth off the throne. The bottom line is that England has ships that are smaller and faster, and they're able to defeat the Spanish Armada. And when the Spanish Armada was defeated, Spain was weakened. If Spain is a weaker country, its ability to control the seas is also weaker. And now this is going to enable countries like England and France to travel and found colonies in the Americas, the colonies that will become us eventually. So we've got more exploration happening at this time period, particularly the northern voyages. Europeans still want to find a faster route to Asia. Remember, that's what Columbus was originally looking for, and it wasn't found. So John Cabot decides to look for a faster route to Asia, and England gives him the money for that search. In his first voyage, which takes place in 1497, he explores Newfoundland. In his second voyage, which is 1498, well, maybe he just explored the Chesapeake Bay in North America. That's what scholars think, but they don't know for certain because his ships disappeared without a trace. England, France, and Holland at this time all send explorers to North America looking for a Northwest Passage, a sea route from the Atlantic to the Pacific that goes through or around North America. And finally, we have some more explorers that are worth knowing about. In 1524, Italian explorer Giovanni di Verrazzano looks for a northern passage. Instead, he finds the mouth of the Hudson River and New York Bay. Yes, the Verrazzano Bridge is named after this gentleman. French explorer Jacques Cartier looks for a northern passage, but instead he finds the St. Lawrence River and explores Montreal. This will be one of the things that helped the French settle what we now know as Canada. And last but not least, Henry Hudson also looks for a northern passage, but instead he explores New York and the Hudson River, which obviously was named for him. After finding the river, Hudson was asked to go on another journey to explore the same area, and he explores northern New York in winter. His crew got mad and mutinied. If you've ever been in upstate New York in the winter, I think you would probably do the same. It's terrible and cold. So the crew winds up sending Hudson, his son, and some crew members that were loyal to him out to sea in a tiny boat because they're so upset with him. And in fact, Mr. Hudson is never seen again. On that note, we will end for today. Have a good afternoon, guys.